welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome to the bonus episode. Today I'm joined by two friends of mine to discuss some of the issues highlighted in the book, Stay With Me. The book, Stay With Me, shows the impact that society and family can have on a couple dealing with infertility. It also depicts the extreme lengths that people will go through when trying to conceive and have children in the Nigerian society. So welcome, Bunmi and Toyin, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So to start off, what are your general thoughts about the book?
I thought it was a good book. I could relate with the characters, and I like that the story touched on a social topic that most people in Nigeria don't like to openly talk about.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, it covers our cultural beliefs, pressures, the extent to which marriage, infertility, silence, the ignorance
Right.
that are faced in marriages.
Yeah. That's so true. I found the book, I really loved the book. At times I didn't want to read it because I just thought, wow, all these things going on in this book. And especially what the woman herself was going through. It just seemed like, how is this even possible? So, but like both of you rightly said, it does highlight some of the issues that we still face in the Nigerian culture. And of course, I have to say that the book is focused on the Yoruba culture. And of course, in Nigeria, we have several cultures. We speak over 500 languages. Every culture is different. Some of the things highlighted in this book are similar to other cultures, but it's not always the same. So I think we just had to also state that. So why do you ladies think that we place such a high level of importance on having kids in Nigeria? As you both know, you're both married. So you know that even when people are getting married, people usually say 9 months time, we're going to come back and eat rice. We're going to come eat. And people don't even ask, are the couple interested in having kids or not? Are they planning to? You're not given that choice. It's assumed that you plan to have kids, you must have kids. And, why else would you get married if you're not trying to have kids, right? So why do we place such high importance? Why do you think?
Basically to continue the lineage of that family, the family line, continuity.
Yeah.
My family shouldn't end with me. I must have like before.
Exactly. You want to continue the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bunmi is right. Yes, based on my faith, the Bible says, we should be fruitful and multiply. So I do believe that, we're meant to have children. But as you rightly said, nobody, when you get married, nobody is asking you, do you want to have kids? It's like a template. And honestly, that's it. That's what I've always known. You get married, have children, and then you have children, that's just the way it is, right? Yes, that's the norm, honestly. Yes, that's the norm.
Yes.
I'm not actually sure why it is, but
but we can't continue of course, like I know we're supposed to have kids, right? That's again, like you said, that's how we're brought up, and that's the whole culture. But isn't it possible for us to pass on our legacies or whatever that we feel that we have without necessarily having children? Like, I'm just saying that, can't you still continue your name? Can't your name still live on without children? There's been lots of people that their names have lived on even till now, and they didn't necessarily have kids. For example, this actor that just died,
Chadwick,
exactly. I don't remember anybody saying that he has any kids. And I'm sure that his name is going to live on forever. Like, in our hearts, in our minds, it's going to stay on. Superheroes for lots of children. So his legacy will live on. His impact will always be felt regardless of, for generations to come. And I'm not sure that he has any kid.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Honestly, there are different ways we can, pass on our legacies.
Yeah.
Can, impact lives, do something for some other people. But I think it's just this thing in our culture. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's like I don't know. I'm actually not sure what it is, but in our culture, it's just very, very strong. And you would even find out that even if you have female children, it's still not enough, right?
Yeah,
they want that because the female child is going to get married
and the name changes.
So it's just very strong. Particular about just passing on that name.
Yeah. But we have people
using how we define it in our culture.
Yeah, but we have people using double barrel names now. Like, he's still passing it on. But
if the woman decides to hold on to the maiden name,
exactly,
and then having the compound name, maiden, and the new surname.
Yeah, and then if her husband is also okay with it, right? So both will have to be also okay with that. So I guess,
Wow. If it's not, you have to let go.
Wow. Yeah. Times change and still don't change. Interesting. So what do you think of Akin's character, which is the main, what role did you think that his character played in the outcome? Because obviously, as you see him, he was quite, it was easy for the mom to demand things and his family, and he just kind of went with the flow without hesitating, without thinking of his own family, without saying, okay, maybe this is the line that I'm going to draw a line. I mean, the Bible says that, I'm sure it's probably similar in different religions, that when you get married, you're supposed to become one with your wife, and everybody else is not the immediate family. But yet, as we noted in the book, it appeared that the mom or the family could still tell him to do whatever, and he pretty much went ahead with it.
Yeah, I know. I think Akin was, deceptive as a person and weak as a husband, right? And I think because of his deception, I guess because he knew that he was the one with the problem, that's why it was easy for him, to go along with everything that his family pressured him to do. And that just put unnecessary stress and burden on the wife, right? As you rightly mentioned, once you get married, a man and a woman have become one. And it's both responsibilities, the responsibility of the husband to protect the wife. And it's the responsibility of the wife to protect the husband as well, depending on the circumstances. And as the head of the family, right, he has that responsibility. A man has to be bold. He has to be strong. He has to make his decisions and be able to stick with it. You have to protect your wife. If you now have your own family, your immediate family, of course, yes, you can take advice from people, but they shouldn't have that strong effect on, on your decisions. So I just think Akin was just, he was deceptive to start with, and he just appeared weak to me.
Yeah, I agree totally. And he was very selfish as well.
Yeah.
I don't think, maybe from the beginning, the marriage itself, because if you claim to love her and you know she was a virgin, you got to know her while she was in school. You understand? As in, she was at her very vulnerable and open. The least you could have done was to open up and address it from the beginning. Very, very selfish of him.
Yeah.
And weak, as Toyin said.
Yeah. He was definitely very weak. And I knew, Toyin, just like you said earlier, that perhaps he did that because he knew it was one of the problem. But I thought that knowing that you're the one with the problem should actually make you stand up more, right? Because you almost feel like guilty that, okay, they think it's her with the problem why we can't have children, but it's actually me. So you will think that it'll make you go above and beyond in protecting her. But instead, he kind of just let it happen. Like the mother was going to bring another wife, and he let another wife come in, knowing fully well that you're the one with the issue. I just don't see how that makes any sense. But even, and this stories, okay, so I'm familiar with these stories in terms of in books like this, or in like Nigerian movies. See all the stories how someone brings another wife in and like, oh, okay, don't worry, as soon as this wife has a child now, then you'll have a child. Then the lady will also have a child, because somehow taking a child in the house is going to make another child in the house come from heaven. This kind of weird stuff. I mean, I think I understand where they're going with it, in the sense that people say things like, well, if someone doesn't have a child, maybe you should go adopt. And if you adopt, then there'll be a child in the house, and somehow you're not so focused on having children anymore. It's all in line with the same kind of thinking. It's not necessarily right, but I just know that I'm familiar with those statements when people say things like that. But I just wonder how this was even okay. Because I always have this conversation. If the man had the problem, and in this case he did, but if he had once come out to his family and said that he was the one with the problem, I'm very sure the mother will all of a sudden become so nice to the wife and tell her, oh, don't worry.
Of course.
God is going to do it. Just be patient. So he could have done that as well, because he knows for sure they'll have turned around. But as soon as it's the wife, it's like, oh, you got to get somebody else outside. You got to make sure you have your name continue. Yeah. You don't want to end your name in this generation, right? So it's interesting. I
think it's the way it is.
Yeah. Are we still seeing this? So do you know any of this kind of stories? So, like, apart from the book and the Nigerian movies.
Oh yes.
In this generation, or in the past, on our parents' generation?
In the past.
Maybe not in our parents' generation. Maybe in like my older sister's generation, right? So maybe people who are in their 50s, right? Yes. So you still see it. You definitely see. Well, especially, and I definitely know someone who the person had 3 girls. Yeah. And the man still left the house and still went to marry someone else, right? So the person could have a boy for him. So yes, you see, it's the problem is there.
Yeah. I see it a lot in movies, and I think it depends on where you are, because we're in Lagos, right? Most of us, anyways, or 2 of us are in Lagos, and Tony used to be here. So in Lagos, I'm sure it is still happening, but maybe you don't hear about it as much. It's probably still popular in smaller towns or villages, and of course, I think it's also more popular or for people to say the man went outside and had children outside. I've heard that more than actually bringing another wife in. Again, that's just that's what I've heard. Doesn't mean it's not happening, right? It's just that's what I've heard. And I know of it happening in our parents' generation, because I had a lot of people that it actually happened to. And unfortunately, it messed up marriages, couples that really loved each other, that allowed the families to come in and just say whatever they wanted, mess up, like break up the marriage, and then the husband goes off and finds another woman. And in many cases, it never worked out. Yes, they might have had children, or in some cases, maybe not. But maybe they didn't actually love each other, right? So people weren't really supportive in the sense that maybe let you know what the options are that you might want to consider. And perhaps maybe people could decide, they might opt to decide to live without children, right? So people just didn't give them that option. It was just, so I think those bad experiences in the past has changed things now for our generation, but of course it's still happening, but it's just not as common. And like you said as well, I know someone that the mom had like, I think 5 or 6 girls, and the father left and went on to marry other people outside. But even at the end of the day, even now, is the 6 girls that are taking care of the father, right? So can you imagine, like, you go off trying to find
a boy,
a boy or boys or whatever it is, or another woman, and you just don't realize that perhaps
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's not going to make life easier. But yes, honestly, that's just how it is. Yeah, that's crazy.
So you think that Akin should have told his wife that he was impotent?
Yes, I think so.
I know, like you
Because
said, Bunmi, like you said, she was, she was a virgin at the time. You should have said something. It might not have even made an impact to her. She might have been, because she really loved him. She might have just said, "Hey, let's go seek treatment. That you can probably get better."
Exactly. Yeah.
just be open.
Yeah, you have to, especially in marriage, right? You're getting married to someone.
Exactly, you agreed
Honesty and openness is
to be
important.
together.
Yeah.
But isn't it hard though to say something like that? I mean,
It
technically,
is
I think
hard.
about it
To
now.
your better half.
Yeah, but I think about now. Can you imagine saying that to anybody? The person's gonna be like, yeah, see ya. I'm out the door.
But that's if you did, you are still at the early stages of dating, but now you've both agreed you're married. What else, what do you want? What's so great that you need to hide it from your spouse? Because
Yes,
if it's the female and she opens up, they find out she has the problem. He really tells her or comforts her that, oh, we'll get over it. This, so why can't it be the same thing the other way around?
Guys have a big thing with being able to
The ego,
yeah, so that's
plays a lot in that.
Yeah. But I kind of felt sad for him as well, because I just thought, geez, because even at the end of the day, he can't, he didn't actually do anything wrong, but this was something that he felt so ashamed. And that's and he just has to pay the price. He just has to hope that the person is okay with staying. But then he never took that chance. He instead just kept it from her.
Yes. That was, yes, as you said, it's not easy, but you have to tell that person. She might, as you said, she might decide to stay and she might decide to leave, but at least if she stays, then you know that the marriage is based on love and trust,
Exactly,
not on deceit and betrayal. Yes. So yes,
yeah.
she may not have stayed and she may have, so you never know, but you should still be truthful and honest in a marriage.
Yeah. Interesting. Because I wonder in my mind, like, and then, because you don't want to take that chance to get, like, I tell this one, then this person leaves because they're not happy with this thing. Because, you've heard of people that they will say to the guy they're dating when they're getting serious, maybe there's something wrong with their uterus or there's something wrong with them medically that they might not be able to have children. And then they tell the guy, and then he goes home and then he's cool with it. He appears he's cool with it, and then he gets home and tells his sister or his brother or his mom, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, you need to break that off.
Even think about it.
Exactly, you need to break that off. Right? I mean, look at even like what is it, people that have genetic condition like AS, to AS people getting married. You've heard of people that even engaged, almost gotten married.
Of course.
And as soon as they found out, they went for blood tests or whatever, they found out about AS, and the family be like, I don't think so. You need to leave her. And that's the end of it. All those years, the love, everything is just so.
Exactly.
I think sometimes
well,
it's not
I
so
think
easy.
that's where, yes, it's no, definitely it's not easy. But honestly, again, at least as we've grown older, we know that we need to take responsibility for our own decisions. And honestly, that's the truth. Nobody's going to live your life for you, right? Everybody, people will say, oh, yes, don't do this or do this. But at the end of the day, you're the one that is going to live through that decision, right? So yes, now that we know, we're much older, we know better. You have to take your decision and stick with it if it's your decision, right? If you do decide that, I'm sure, yes, and honestly, I know people who, they maybe the man is AS and they want to get married to someone who is AS. Yeah. And I know, and this is close to me, I know that there has been a lot of pressure from the family, oh, you can't do this and do that, oh, you have to be careful, SS, they get very ill and all of that. And I know like 2 situations where the men actually stood their ground and said, yes, we understand. And of course, they were not deaf to the advice. Reality, they what it meant. Yes. So they were like, okay, maybe we'll go for testing. They knew all of that, right? They considered it, but they still said, we will still go ahead and get married. You get.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I think it's two ways. The family, yes, as a family, you want to protect your own family member. You want to try to tell them what to do. Yes, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But present the options to them. Don't put them under so much pressure, right?
Yeah.
Present the options. At the end of the day, please let them take their own decisions, right? Yes, let them take their own decisions and be supportive of the decision they have taken. Now, we're not saying don't talk, don't give any advice. Do that.
Yeah.
Do, because we know it's out of love. Give those advice, but respect the decision. And yeah, I know about 2 of them now that are married with the AS partner. And yeah, they're good.
Well said. So, and why do we blame women for, when a couple, when a couple they're married and don't have kids? I've actually haven't met a lot of people that say, not like it's anyone's business whose problem it is really, either it's a woman or male, it's not really anyone's business. But I haven't actually met a lot of people that have said, oh, maybe it's the guy. So it's like, oh, you never know, maybe it's that girl, like the way she looks, you know what I mean? Like she looks like she's probably been up to a lot of strange things when she was younger. You know what I mean? So there's stuff like that, like
in the past.
Exactly, all these things she has done that, maybe has led to her being unable to have. It's all like, it's always that. Even random people of the streets, that's what they're gonna say. So why do we think it's always the woman?
Because she's the one that gets to carry the baby.
Yeah.
That's the only logic, closest thing that I can think of. Maybe because she ends up being the one carrying the baby.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which doesn't make sense anyway, but even in churches, if they're going to pray, is the woman.
I know. I hardly ever find them saying, all the men come out, let's pray for you.
Yes, it's the woman.
It's like, let's pray for God to open up this womb. Let God just... It's like,
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, do you know if it's a sperm that needs to be fixed? You don't know.
Exactly. Bunmi is right. I think that's just it, because yes, it's the woman that gets to carry the baby. So I think people forget that for you to have a child, you need the sperm and the eggs. Yes. So I think people just see, oh, it's the woman that so if the woman is not able to give birth, then there must be something wrong with her womb. Something wrong with her body. It's her body that is not accepting the baby. Yeah. You get So I think it may just be that ignorance or I think it's just that ignorance and just that focus on one side of having a baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nobody focuses on whether it's the sperm isn't of good quality or it may be an issue from the guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's just it.
But the strange thing is that even sometimes the people that are saying these things are educated. They're not like
of course
they know better. You know what I mean? Like some of them could be doctors, some of them could be lawyers, they could be like it has nothing to do with the fact that they're aware. And they still gonna act like and you think okay. Like even with the whole women having girl children, we all know that the man gets to determine the sex of the child. And yet we're gonna blame her for having girls all the time.
Girls, I just
I'm like what's going on here?
I don't know. Maybe the ego also comes in, right? Because I feel like, especially in our culture, the men, have been. It's like they find it difficult to accept that the problem can come from them. Don't you understand? It's like I'm not able to have a child, I'm not able to have a child. It can't be. I want to test this. I want to be sure.
Exactly.
So I'm going to try another woman. It can't be.
Yeah, that is not possible.
It's not possible, exactly. I think it's just that it can't be. It's not possible. I have to try this.
Maybe it's also the way we raise our boys. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. You see how when when a woman gives birth to a boy, do you see the way the man is congratulated?
Yeah,
it's actually very different. They're like, you're a real
man.
A real man,
you're strong. Wow.
Now you just perform now.
Exactly. And now you finally And it's a girl like, oh, okay. Like I've actually heard people say things like, it's a girl like, oh, okay, don't worry, next time God will do it. And like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like God just did it. You know, like, it's so crazy.
Yeah,
I don't understand. And of course, we can't have all boys. It's not possible. How are we gonna have the women to have the children? So we do need girls. You know, we need the mothers. So if you all just have boys, then where are the mothers going to be? It's pretty interesting.
I know.
And I think even like we say, like how you raise your children, how when you raise boys, I know how it is. You just kind of chill and you hang out. They're always telling you also many positive things. Oh, you're a king, you're a prince. You know, it's always like the boy can do whatever he wants. Just chill. Even when they're raising you up, when you're younger, it's always like it's a girl, man. You get all you sit down in the kitchen. They tell you make sure you don't get pregnant. Make sure you don't get pregnant. Make sure you don't get pregnant. And the guy's like just sit down, my darling. What would you like to eat? Let them go bring it for you. Right? So maybe it's all there slowly that the boys are just supposed to be and the men are just, there's no preparing them for anything that is negative. It's just, you're good. Everything is perfect about you.
Yeah,
right?
I completely agree. Yeah, all those messages, and children pick up those messages. And you see, if you've been hearing those messages from when you were young up until when you grow up, it just sticks.
Yeah.
You're special. You can do whatever you want. You're superior to the female. Yes. So we have to be careful about those messages that we pass on to children.
That's true. Wonderful. I think has changed in terms of the impact that family can have on a couple that trying to have kids. Do we think things are still the same as it was in the book, in the sense that the family could come and just offer support by finding another wife? Or do we think things are changing? Are we hearing of other stories where families are more supportive in the sense that they might try to advise the couple on the options available? And of course, we're thankful that in these times there's fertility treatments and medical intervention that can also help. What do we think so far?
I think it's the families or parents, right, are being a bit more supportive,
right,
by allowing the children go ahead with the options of that.
Right.
And I also think that it's relative to the educated ones.
Right.
If we should check statistics, I'm sure that the old norm still goes on in families that are not as educated,
right,
or enlightened enough to know or to accept those, because you even have religious reasons, in quotes, to say that it's not right to go ahead and do that.
Exactly.
To believe it's not, So even that can pass for an educated family. But on religious grounds say that no, and that affects the couple, from moving ahead. To resolving the issue immediately.
Actually, I've heard that before, that some people say like, well, things like, if you want to do IVF, for example, people can say, well, I don't think that's from God, or you should just wait on God, and you shouldn't really be seeking medical intervention in that
God's
case.
work.
Or trying to help God or play God, or things like that. So that can be an issue as well, that I've seen happen.
I think the belief is still there that the woman is primarily responsible for the inability to have a child. I don't think that has completely gone away. It may be a bit more subtle now, but it's still there. It's like the woman is still the one with the issue. But as you both mentioned, with technological advancements, knowledge, education, and open conversations such as this, I think people are more open-minded, as you mentioned, to the different options, IVF, adoption. And I think I see now that men are becoming more involved, actually.
Yeah.
They're more involved. The men are more, yes, they're more accepting. So you see, when that happens, then it becomes less difficult for the family to be so interfering, because the man is now involved. You see, the husband is involved. It's like, okay, let's do this together. Because if it was in the past, it's like, even the husband is saying, woman, wife, you're the one with the problem. So it's like you've exposed her to all of those abuse and all those problems. But now it's like, okay, we're in this together. Let's look at all the other options. Then it's less, you see, once the couple are together, it's less difficult for the family to interfere. Right. So you see that it's extremely, extremely important for the husband to protect the wife. Honestly, it is important. It's important. Without that protection, then she's open to all the issues coming from the extended family.
Yeah. And especially for this guy, since he was impotent, I mean, they never said he was actually infertile. So basically his sperm had been fine. He just wasn't able to actually be able to have sex with his wife. So if he had been in this current time, perhaps there could have been ways to actually extract the sperm and still have the children without necessarily having to have other people from outside.
Exactly. But because he wasn't open about it, he wasn't talking about it. If you're not open about something, how would that option even come to the table, right? Yeah. And again, I can understand him. As you mentioned, it is difficult. It's a difficult thing for a man, especially in this culture, to come out and say, I'm impotent.
Exactly. Nobody wants to hear that.
I think it may actually be worse than a woman saying she can't have a child. Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember actually,
emphasis we are laying on it. There's no big deal.
I know, right? There shouldn't be. Because at the end of the day, you're not the one that created yourself. You didn't create yourself. It's not like you went and made yourself that way. You didn't. That's just the way you are. And there's nothing you can do. Like, you can't go back in time and tell God, or you know what, make sure. Like, if we all just see that it's not the person's fault, then we should make it open that anyone can be like, okay, I'm the one with the problem. But it's not the reality. Exactly. I know now we're seeing more people talking about male factor infertility, male factor infertility. But again, there's still a lot of people that are not talking about it. And that's still, but at least thank God we're having that conversation now. So people know that it's a possibility, even if they don't necessarily acknowledge it.
Right? Exactly. Know that it's a possibility. Exactly. Yeah. So you see that having open conversations is key. And I feel like in our culture, we just like to, there's some things we have decided that, we don't talk about. We're just going to, we don't talk about kind of things.
I know. Don't tell anyone, just keep just pray about it at home and just hope that this resolves itself somehow.
So we need to change some of those, I think.
So, I mean, going in line with what we're saying, then how can we change what's happened? How can we make things better for our future generation? How can we make sure that people feel comfortable to say, hey, you know what? I think I have whatever the condition might be, and this could impact my ability to have children.
So just being open, supportive. Supportive, and anywhere, little way you can try and pass on the message, educate, even if it starts within the family, educate as many people within your confines.
Exactly.
And then it dovetails to the entire community, but we just need to be open, educative about it. Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Very true.
And having those conversations, honestly, I feel like that is just important. Yes, don't hush anything down. And if someone comes to us and says this is the challenge or issue they're going through, see, if I come to you and I tell you, let's say I want to tell you, let's say I'm not able to get pregnant, right? Again, because this is such a big deal for me, I may want to test the waters and just come and tell you, first of all, say maybe I tell you something less serious, right? I'm going to gauge how you're going to respond to that issue. So if you already respond to that issue in a negative way, you see that I'm not going to tell you what my bigger problem is.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all have to be careful about the way we address people's issues, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the key thing is, yes, have these conversations. We have to ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be open-minded, ask questions, find out what this person is going through. You know, don't just, you know, somehow in our culture, we just have this mindsets that are already stuck, you know, just as what we've said now, that if a couple are trying to have a child, it's the woman's fault.
Yeah.
We're not thinking otherwise. So I think we have to start opening our minds, you know. Let's not go with the flow of the thinking. Let's have our own thought process. Think about this thing deeply. Does it make sense? Is it fair? Can this be true? You know, let's just follow what everybody is thinking or saying. You know, let's really think about it. And more importantly, just have those open conversations. And if someone is open with us about their issues, we need to be careful how we treat them or address them, because then they're not going to open up when they have something serious to tell us. Right? Yeah. I feel if we can all do that, yes, it will help. We need to stop the shaming. Stop it, yes. We need to stop it for whatever reason.
I know.
Did you hear? This person cannot have a child.
I know. And they start spreading the news everywhere. Because you see in all those crazy movies, that's the same thing. They're like, that one, maybe she's a witch. Maybe that's why she can have children. Maybe she's eating up all her children. They tell you, keep your children away from them because, you know, they might just do something bad to them. So it's all these silly things that we keep passing on. And again, you remember those stories when you were younger. But if we make a conscious effort not to say the same things to our children, then it's better, right? We don't keep passing on silly, like, I mean, it's great to pass on lovely, I mean, there are so many lovely folk tales that I love and I still sing to my nieces and nephews. But if you know that certain folk tales that have funny connotations in them, or, you know, some kind of funny things that make women look bad, I don't think you necessarily want to be passing that on, or you switch it in a way that makes it that every child is fine. They don't keep passing on those funny traditions to the children, so that, you know, we end up passing on the same things to them, right?
Exactly.
So,
because I know when we were younger, if someone, I'm sure I've heard this many times, and somehow it's stuck then. You know how you say if a woman is finding it difficult to have a child, they'll be like, maybe she had different abortions in the past.
Yes, you know? I heard that so many times. She messed around, she had too many, that she said too many people. And it's still like that. That's what people still say. You're like, what?
It's still,
So yes, all of those kind of things.
It's ridiculous. Because actually, I remember I had a friend one time, and she's like, she had to tell her mother-in-law that, I was a virgin when your son met me or whatever. But I don't think the mother-in-law was still interested. She was like, yeah, whatever. You've done something. That's why you don't have, you know what I mean? Like,
that's why you don't have kids.
That's why you don't have kids yet.
She has already
made up her mind. So it doesn't matter what you're saying. It's just
because honestly, that thing has stuck. Yeah. And honestly, if you hear something over and over again, it starts to become the truth. I'm telling you, because she's heard it, and it's going to be difficult to change that mother's opinion. Mindset. Exactly.
So it's hard to change people that obviously in our parents' generation, but the goal that we have, the way we want to focus on is like, or maybe even our older ones, it might still be hard to change people that are in their 50s and 60s, but we can change ourselves. Like, you know, we can change our own generation, we can change the younger ones, we can make sure that things are different for younger women and men, so they don't have to go through the same things that we did or that our parents did in that aspect. So as mothers of young boys, young men, future husbands, we know we both said that let's have those conversations, let's be more supportive, let's be more open-minded. What are you going to teach your sons? What are you going to tell your sons now about the reality of, because, you know, when we were younger, all I knew was don't get pregnant, don't talk to a boy. I wasn't actually sure the details of how to get pregnant. All I knew was like, stay away from a boy. So I was always like miles apart, like talk to me from afar, don't come too close, don't come near me. I remember some guy that I think I was, you know, when you leave high school, you're like, I'm dating somebody. And the guy was like, maybe you try to kiss him once in a while. I thought, what are you doing? I moved away quickly because I thought, okay, you want to kiss me? Next time I'm going to be pregnant. Like, it's just silly. Like,
I know.
That's all I knew. don't move. So,
Exactly.
but we know that's not the reality, right? There's a lot more than that. But what can we? What are you going to teach your young boys? So even understand that what the reality is, and potential options in the future. What conversations are you going to have with your young boys?
You have said it, and honestly, it's the same for me. Nobody sat me down and said, "Oh, this is how you get pregnant. This is what happens." It's just that you must not get pregnant. You better know what So honestly, and this is something that is quite I'm quite passionate about. It's important, just like you said. What am I going to teach my son? I'm going to teach him, or I'm already started teaching him, the truth. Every child must be taught basic sexuality education. It is key. And this is what we're saying. We're having these open conversations. It's not like something we can't talk about. So you are and you start from an early age, because remember, all these beliefs that we have, we didn't just get them when we were 18. We were being fed just as we're growing up. The same way, we have to start feeding them from an early age. So when the child is like 2, 3, you talk about the parts of the body and you use the real names. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
The child says, this is my vagina. This is my penis. There's nothing shameful about it. Yeah. And they've even said that would even help the child to avoid predators, and protect them from sexual abuse. So we have to have those conversations. And as the child grows older, so now I'm teaching my children, this is how, if someone gets pregnant. Right. The man's penis will go into the woman's vagina. The man releases sperm, and if the woman releases ovaries, right? She has 2 ovaries. And when the sperm meets the egg, it passes through wherever it's passing through. The baby grows in the uterus. So again, depending on the child's age. So now let me see. If I have taught my child all of this, the child already knows that it takes 2 parties to have a baby.
Exactly.
Right? So he knows that the man's sperm has to mate with the woman's egg. So he already knows that his sperm has a part to play. So when they're telling him about maybe sperm quality, he's not going to say, no, that can't be possible, right? And then when they're talking about uterus, maybe they're telling him, oh, the woman has something with her uterus. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he already has that knowledge. It's not going to be strange to him to hear about any issues that arise. And if okay, there's an issue with maybe the uterus. Oh, great. That means I still have my sperm and my wife still has an egg. So maybe is there another way we can... Do you get what I'm saying? So all of that is important. Just teach them the truth. That's what I think the key things for me is teach them the truth and have these open conversations. Don't make this sex education something that we never talked about. We don't talk about.
Shouldn't be spoken about.
Let's talk about it. It's normal. And we are going to be helping the children in that regard. We just mentioned now that I did not know that. And honestly, I would have really loved to know that. Not that you're running away from a guy because you feel like if he sees you, then you're pregnant.
It was so silly, but that was
and
reality.
I'm going to girls only school.
I know. Yeah. Actually, perhaps I was wrong by saying. I think I was wrong by saying, what were they going to teach your young boys? I think in that point, I was trying to say, how are you going to teach them to understand that having children is from both sides? But so Toyin addressed that. But I think that the conversation has to be both both sexes anyway, young boys or young girls.
Yes, both of them down.
Yeah. And so Bunmi, when you were saying that we went to girls only school, that didn't help us. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead with your conversation about the girls only school not being.
Yes, for me then too, I think that didn't help. So when I came back during the holidays and my brother's friends came, I was always in the room.
Exactly. Are you going to be the good girl?
It took a while for me to open up, to actually be free enough to sit in their midst.
Yeah.
And start gisting. It was that bad, but with time, obviously, that I had to learn on my own as well. So we need to, as they're growing up now, not wait till they're much older. Yeah. Even the little sensations when they wake up for the boys in the morning and have a hard on, quickly, they need to be educated why that is
Exactly.
For the girls too, when you start reading all these novels,
all the
you can't hide
M&Bs,
them from
meals and boons.
doing that. We were reading Meals and Beans, yes.
Yeah.
And from all they watch, they know all this thing is happening. So
Yeah.
there's no point
Exactly.
lying to ourselves. We just need to educate them early enough. When you feel a sensation, this, it's normal. But
Exactly.
it's what you do with it,
Exactly. And have to control it and manage it and
normal.
the proper things to do.
Yeah, so that they're even open enough to keep coming to you when they have
Exactly. So you can see when they have issues, maybe when they get
yes.
older and they have issues, that child is not even going to feel anyhow. It's going to come to you, oh mom, I'm not able to get pregnant. What do you think is happening?
Exactly.
There's no stigma. The child is already free to come and talk to you
enough,
about it. That should be.
Wonderful. Well said, ladies. So, what role do you think that we as women have to play in this? So, I'm going to say the reason why I'm asking this question. You would see that most times, even in the movies, the people that come, when they come to the couple, so if there's a couple having issues or having difficulty in having children, trying to have children, usually the people that make the comments that are inappropriate or try to suggest, another third party come in and help out in the sense of marrying another woman or whatever the case may be, it's usually women. It's usually women that say those things. And strangely, you would think we should know better because we would figure out how hurtful this might be. But somehow,
having gone through it yourself.
Yeah, right. Some people, exactly. So you know how bad it is for someone to come to you and be like, "Oh yeah, so we're gonna bring another wife for your husband." And you think, seriously? I mean, obviously, in some religion, like that's probably acceptable. So that's a little different. We're talking about in religions like Christianity when it's not necessarily the case. Yeah. So, what role do you think we as women need to play? Right. So you ladies and myself, we're going to be future mother-in-laws. We're going to be future auntie-in-laws. Sometimes, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we have auntie-in-laws can be pretty interesting. They can put a lot of twist in situations. So what role do you think we have to play, and how are we going to change this in the future to make sure that our daughter-in-laws and other women in families that are married to us, or even our friends, like for example, now your son might want to get married in the future, and how do I make sure that I'm not saying the wrong things to his wife, right? Yeah. So what are we going to do differently?
Awesome. Just stay away from as if you can't help yourself, you have to try and stay away because you get carried away.
Right. And you say things you shouldn't say.
That's the thing. We get carried away and we won't know where we'll. Yes. I don't know.
You can't say anything
we
nice.
Should try and be
don't
open.
say anything at all.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Not if what you're saying is not nice, keep quiet.
Keep quiet. Yes, that may be a good point of view. But you're right. Honestly, I'm not sure why women do that, right? Because you would think, just as you've said, that we should know better. So I honestly think that women, we have a higher responsibility because we know firsthand, right, what it is to have a child and not have a child. So I can't really understand why we would be the ones making those nasty comments. Having said that, sometimes out of ignorance, again, I'm sure maybe somewhere in the past few years or before now, I may have made some comments that were not so nice or acceptable, right? But as we have these conversations and we know better, then we must do better.
Yeah.
Do you get? So if we've done that in the past, that's fine. But now that we know, you know what it is like, yes, for someone who's going through infertility, you have to try to be nicer. And as Bunmi has said, if you can't find anything nice to say, just stay away. Try to be quiet. If you can't help them, don't add to their troubles, right?
Add to it, yes.
And exactly. So I feel like we need to be supportive. Watch our words and our actions. And I think this is a key one. When you do give your advice, right? When you do give your advice or whatever it is, we don't have to shove it down their throats, right? They don't have to take
They don't have to accept it. Yep.
Exactly. We need to respect their decisions. I think that's another key thing that may be a problem in our culture.
Yeah.
Yes, you've given your advice, but honestly, I don't have to necessarily take it. Yeah. I appreciate it because it shows that you're concerned about me, you love me, that's fine. But please respect my decisions, right?
Yeah.
So if they've decided these are the options that they want to go through, respect it and be supportive, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that those are the things that we need to do.
I think it's a cultural thing, right? You don't understand. It's like, as an elderly person, I've just told you what to do and you don't want to do it. Like, why? Didn't you just spend all that time telling you?
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, what? Exactly. Thanks, but that's not what I want to do. But people don't want to hear that. It's like, you don't have a right to say no. You just need to accept what I've told you. This is what you need to do. End the story. So exactly. It's great. Like you ladies have said, you're going to have those conversations with your sons and your daughters. You're going to talk to them about what's reality. We're going to tell them, of course, like what's okay to say and not to say. We're going to tell them that even when you get married in the future, we pray that everything goes perfectly without any issues. But we understand that sometimes things can happen. And if you do need to seek treatment, then do that. Because again, for some people, it doesn't actually mean there's a problem. It might just be something that maybe, for example, some people might just have blocked fallopian tube. So it's not, yes, it's an issue, but it's not necessarily a big problem. It can potentially be addressed and resolved. Okay. For some people, they might not be sure, or they might not be sure when the ovulation time is, right? So, or sometimes it might just be something simple, right? But we just need to know people need to seek treatment, and there's no shame in that, and it's not your fault. You didn't create yourself. So, like any other condition that we seek treatment for, you should be able to seek treatment if this is the issue you're dealing with. So, and of course, when you're hanging out with our friends as well, we have some friends that can make some funny comments. We need to be able to let them know that, hey, I know I can appreciate that you said that, but perhaps let's be sensitive to these things. So in all our little connections and little friends and family, we just need to be letting people know if we're ever in those situations where people make those comments or bring up the topic.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So,
I agree.
Any other words that you want to like include in terms of how we create awareness about changing things in the future? Any last words that you want to say or you can do differently?
We need to have conversations.
Wonderful.
I feel like
this is fertility conversations. We're having it right here.
Yes.
Yay.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, so this is really awesome. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if the more we talk about things, the more we shed light on it. Because people can just we've talked about that, people have all these mindsets that they've been carrying for so long. It may not necessarily be true, right? But if you listen to something, you'll be like, oh, that's true. I never thought about it that way, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly. And then we have to be open-minded. Ask questions. We don't know everything. Don't just feel like, this is it, I know it. No, let's have those conversations. Ask questions. The objective of the conversation is not for you to just pour out everything you know. No.
Exactly, yeah.
For you to ask questions so that you can see things from their own point of view. Honestly, I feel like, if we have those conversations, be open-minded, and regardless of anything, we need to stop the shaming.
Yeah.
We need to stop shaming people for whatever reason. Let's just be kind. You can, even if you don't understand what the person is going through, no shame. There's no shame in anything. No shame. Let's just stop the shaming and be kind. That's
well said. Bunmi, anything else you'd like to add?
I think Toyin sums everything up.
Right.
Open conversations, try as much as possible. We don't know it all.
Yeah.
And a good forum is, once somebody is open enough, because in some instances you find the person discussing in a third party
format
because they don't know how the other person is going to respond.
Yeah.
So about the shaming that she said, if we're open enough, you might actually be going through worse, but because of, in quote, that somebody will shame you, you
Right.
don't want to open, or you bottle everything in, which
Exactly.
leads to something else. So
Perfect.
finding the right setting to matters.
As well.
So at least you are able to open up there.
Well said.
We'll get better.
Yes, we'll get
By
better.
God's grace.
Yes, amen. We're getting better. Yes, exactly.
We're learning every day.
Yes, and we're going to be better in that. Our generation is going to do better because we know now that wasn't right. So we're going to do better in supporting future generations. Exactly. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been amazing to have you on here, just having these conversations, talking about how we can impact our society positively and make a change. So thank you. I trust that with us all speaking about this often, these issues identified in the book, which we're all familiar with, we can make the changes that are necessary to make things better for future generations to come. So little changes in our homes, having the necessary conversations with our children, with our friends, with our family members, our colleagues, to ensure that people choose to be kind, people choose to be supportive of anyone dealing with infertility or any other issues that they might be dealing with, instead of trying to make insensitive comments or trying to break up marriages or relationships. So we as a society must do better. And the change begins with us all in our homes and in all our little circles of influence. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been amazing having you both on here.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you come again in the near future for other conversations like this. We're going to do this again for sure.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.